Okay, let's welcome Mike Garn, who is the Assistant Vice Chancellor for New Learning Models at the University System of Georgia. His presentation is about online adult learning, and he is a principal investigator, co-principal investigator of the AI Institute from National Science Foundation. Okay, Mike?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. What I'd like to do is talk a little bit about some of the things that I see coming in the future and some of the things that I think are going to drive research. So let's see, I just got to figure, there we go. So this is me and the kind of work that I've been involved in. As Bev said, I am now, we are actually rotating the principal investigator. I'm the founding principal investigator of the NSF founded AI Institute for Adult Learning and Online Education. What I really want to hit today are some of the new change agents and disruptors that we see coming, and talk a little bit about or show some of the opportunities for research that are going to come out of this. So I'm going to start kind of from my system view of this, that we know students coming in, especially to our open entry institutions, are not fully prepared. They're inequitably prepared. And I specifically want to think about two critical courses in that area and how we can assist those. And math is one area, and that's one where we're seeing some robust development in AI technologies. We have some that we're testing now to help students have progress with adaptive tools and things. My biggest concern is in the writing. And that's where we're seeing far fewer developments and more challenges. So I want to point out some developments that we see coming that might change that. I'll start really first with math and talking about math and our current model of how we think about students. That we have this didactic model where we present to them. And I want to propose that as we begin to think about active learning and those kind of models, that gamers are one of those subsets of students, although it's not a small subset. When we look at the number of people who are gaming, and this is, as you can see, fairly evenly distributed between male and female gamers, that there are a lot of people, as we know, who are learning in kind of a gamer mentality. So one of the questions is, what if we think about our learners as gamers, and how would we think about math redesign? I think the key thing in this is that failure, as we're talking about here, is viewed very differently in a classroom. We talk about summative and formative evaluations, but if a weekly quiz is worth 5 points that goes towards your total grade, that's not a formative. That's becomes a high stakes assessment. It becomes a part of the summative assessment. And it means that failure has a cost. It's high risk, even if it's only 5 points, if it's 3 points, because in the end, that could be the difference between a passing grade and a failing grade, as opposed to gamers who learn that iterative failure is the way to success. That's what it takes to get there. In fact, their motto is, this idea: fail fast, fail early, fail often. Something that we don't design for and consider in the way we put instruction together now. This opens up a whole new world of thinking about things, and it really gives us the opportunity to now begin learning, not necessarily from the successes of others and from experts, but from the failures of others. In fact, the amount of time that gamers spend watching other gamers play is significant in thinking about how we might construct our learning. So Khan Academy, where we walk through examples of math, and why that might be more successful for a gaming generation than others. And this is really kind of the observation that, in fact, gamers are more likely to spend more time trying to game the system than they would working through our kind of skill and drill models that we have in math and learning. So it really brings up an interesting way of how do we think about designing math when the goal is to hack the math, to really try and game the system and use their effort to game the system to really think of a different model for instruction in math, that we can use our technology, we can use artificial intelligence like it's being used in gaming. So I didn't really come here to talk about the math side as much, but I think this is an interesting approach that bears some consideration. Where I really want to focus is on writing, because I think this is an area, as I said, where there hasn't been a lot of development, it doesn't have the rules-based domain that math and the hard sciences do, where adaptive technologies work well. But we know that it's important. Students who come in inequitably prepared in writing really struggle and may end up leaving post-secondary education. So a project we did just about a year ago now was bringing about 40 design and technology experts together to look at how could we create a writing course, what might go into that was much more technology infused, what we call digital forward, as opposed to instructor forward. We came up with things like some principles for a digital forward course design and things, but essentially we looked at how could this different technologies be brought to bear throughout writing. And it turns out there's a fair amount of technology in writing already. Things like Turnitin.com, Grammarly, all the tools that we have in Word, and a large number of other tools that we use. But we're not bringing in some of the things that could really give more agency, more direction to the students. So one of the outcomes of this workshop was a truism, if you will, the idea that the more students write, the more they improve. And it turns out the more faculty have to grade. So we're limited right now in the number of papers we can assign during a writing course by the amount of papers an instructor can grade in a writing course or multiple courses. And this led us to the great idea of automated essay scoring. Now, this is a technology which actually is a lot more mature than a lot of people would like to admit. It actually can function very well and does a relatively strong job of doing essay scoring, especially when it's used in a formative context. If a student submits their paper, gets feedback from the scoring, which can happen more quickly and more times than a individual faculty member might be able to support. So we actually look back at an experience I had in Kentucky where we asked a writing faculty, we were using a tutoring company that had well-qualified master's level tutors. And they said, you know, if you give us the rubric, you can train us on that, we could use that to give you a recommended grade. And so the faculty member actually supplied a rubric for that, and then independently graded the papers and looked at, we then compared those and found a 92% correlation between the grades that the faculty member gave and the grade recommended by the qualified tutors. So we thought, this is fantastic. You know, now we've got what we need. This is a great way, a tool to use to give students rapid feedback, not summative. That's where faculty want to be involved. You know, it turns out some of the research that Pearson did is that the faculty are more likely to disagree with each other than they are with the technology. And, you know, so it got us to the idea of why isn't this being used? Why isn't it a thing? Well, it comes down to ethics. And first, it also comes down to, this is through their writing is how faculty get to know their students. No denying that. And through the process of recursive editing, reviewing, and revising, that's part of it. But the largest thing that came back for using this at all was from our faculty who was 10 years online teacher. And he said, if a student walks up to me on campus and says, Professor Smith, why did I get the B on this paper? I need to know the answer. You know, interestingly enough, it's different perspectives. About a year later, as I was telling this story, that a faculty member from West Virginia said, well, that's easy. Let's just go into my office and we'll take a look at the paper and see why you got a B on it and use it as a teaching tool. But still, that ethical barrier was really a challenge. And so that's why we haven't seen automated essay scoring in the classrooms. In fact, I talked to an LMS purveyor a few years ago, and I said, are you going to add that as a tool into an LMS? Because I think that'd be really useful. And their feedback was, how stupid do you think we are? That we're going to walk onto campus and say, we've got a tool that can do your grading for you? Not on your life. All right. Now, I want to get into something and how disruption comes in. So we've seen how a technology which is promising doesn't succeed for various reasons. This, and I've been asked to give you a warning on this because it could really mess up your dinner tonight and what you're thinking about. And I would say this is what faculty are going to be talking about next term, if not already. Because it's really hitting the press. We're seeing articles in the Chronicle and things like that. If automated essay scoring is a faculty-centric solution, what does it look like when we go student-centric? You've probably seen these headlines. In fact, the one from the Chronicle is just about a month old. New technologies, especially GPT-3 as an AI technology, is proving very successful in producing written reports and materials that are essentially usable. I'll show you some information on that as we get to it. But, you know, our first reaction is, okay, this is how students are going to cheat. But essentially, this is going to be a very, if we're not already seeing it, and these will be hard to identify because what they develop is material that is original, quote unquote. So a turnitin.com is not going to find a paper that's been written using AI technology. Now, this is interesting. This study, not a large one, but used humans writing and humans grading, and then also preparing papers with GPT-3. And you can see the amount of time is a lot shorter than it might take 3 days to actually write the full paper. So we can see that it's quick in helping students produce papers. Now, this is the interesting part. Here you can see when graders went in and there are grades now where we're seeing the cyan color are papers written by humans, and the magenta color are papers written by the AI technology. And you can see our study that said the human papers range quite a bit, but it seems like the AI grades, the papers there came in pretty good. Very close in history, bracketed between in research methods, and doing better than several in the law area. The one that's covered up here we'll get to in a couple of minutes. So what we're seeing is it's quick. It's in some ways comparable. We can also look at the types of comments that were received, and again, very comparable results from the paper written by GPT-3 and the papers written by humans. So, you know, we're getting to, this should be getting scary at this point because this is going to be a very effective tool, and there are any number of companies that are coming out with these tools. So we're going to see a lot of that. This is going to have, I think, very rapid growth. And if you're a business college faculty, you should be especially worried because business students tend to be some of the most innovative when it comes to technology and hacking their courses. Now, our old school answer, and I haven't put the professor's name in here, but this came from an article, is okay, we cut it out. Nobody gets to use technology at all. And we've seen how effective that's been in the past. Banning laptops from the classroom, moving to computer or to calculators, banning those for years. They're just not the way we go about it. Those technologies become ubiquitous and they need to be incorporated. And the sooner we do it, the better it is for students. Now I want to talk a little bit about this from a very different angle. I mean, I get that we're going to think about how do we stop this? I don't think we can stop it. I think we're going to have to think about how writing is done in a very different way over the next 3 to 5 years. And I want to point out exactly why that's important. Thinking about this technology, which is antithetical to everything that we do. It just seems wrong, even more wrong than when we tried to stop automated essay scoring. We were effective there. I don't think we'll be effective here. And we shouldn't be. Because this on the side, the spiral staircase is actually about a block from where I am now. This is in our new CODA building at Georgia Tech. And not every student is able to go up or down those stairs. In fact, I haven't even attempted it yet. However, when we think about students who come in inequitably prepared, 72% of students are not college ready. Now, this comes from especially at our open entry institutions. These are students that are behind their peers. And I want to hit quickly this idea of equality. How do we do equality in writing? We get every student the same assignment and grade them by the same rubric. Equity, giving every student the same assignment and the tools they need to do well. And that's the opportunity that these AI writing tools provide. The opportunity for students who are inequitably prepared to move beyond that barrier of punctuation, of grammar, of syntax, and all of those things that we know are core and very important, to being able to communicate on a higher level than they have before. It's a little bit like saying, you know what, we know that you want to learn Photoshop, but first we want to put you through about 2 terms of programming and machine code, because that's the core of everything we do. Or a lot like my mother made me take 3 years of piano lessons because I wanted to play the guitar. You know what's interesting about things that we think about as accommodations, that all of a sudden they become affordances for everybody. The typewriter is an excellent example of that. It was actually designed to help a blind person communicate with his lover. When we think about marathons, here's the world record in marathon for people with operating legs. Look at what someone can do in a wheelchair. This is the kind of advantage that we can give to people and the opportunity. So it's not just an accommodation, it's also an affordance. I think this is really an interesting and salient quote from Einstein on this, that it's really about imagination and creativity. And this is where we really get to the next point on this. When we look at creative writing, again, the human papers are in cyan, the AI grade is down at F in magenta. It's not creative. That's where we begin to think about the role of the faculty member and what they do, what their role is. It's not correcting grammar. Word can do that, Grammarly can do that. It's not even checking for proper citations and things. It's about inspiring the creativity that students need. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike, for inspiring us. And I guess we need, I mean, I see what you're saying. And now the next step is to put in all these systems that are going to help people with syntax, with grammar, so that they can then be creative and be inspired. So there is a step there, and you outlined it very well. Thank you very much.